up tonight on VCU InSight, Richmond is thinking about giving a stamp of approval to Airbnbs in the city.
Spring has sprung, and with it, car break-ins are on the rise, especially near the park system.
And a group of Virginia Commonwealth University students with a mission to help prevent or repair car troubles.
VCU InSight starts right now.
From the Richard T. Robertson School of Media and Culture at Virginia Commonwealth University, named Best Student Newscast in the Mid-Atlantic, this is VCU InSight.
Good evening and welcome to VCU InSight. I'm Kaylin Stevens.
And I'm Brianna Ray Turner. Thanks for joining us. Our top story tonight, a change that could impact more than 600,000 Virginians. The Commonwealth would no longer revoke driver's license for unpaid court fees. InSight's Ty Wong is in our newsroom to explain the change. Ty?
Brianna, at least 627,000 Virginia residents have a suspended driver's license, but a lot of those folks will soon be eligible to get them back. The House of Delegates voted for this change to be a part of the budget amendment. There has been several attempts to pass legislation like this over the years, but they never went through. Governor Northam says people often don't pay court costs because they can't afford it, and suspending driver's license for unpaid fines makes it more difficult for them. This amendment passed in the House of Delegates 70-29 and passed in the Senate 30-8. And according to the Associated Press, Virginia collects around $10 million for people looking to reinstate their driver's license by paying the fine. This change starts July 1st. Brianna?
Ty Wong reporting from our Richmond newsroom. Thanks, Ty.
Another law that will take effect on July 1st, Tommy's Law, was recently signed by Governor Northam. This law makes animal cruelty a Class 6 felony instead of a misdemeanor for any type of abuse, even if the animal lives. Class 6 felonies are punishable up to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $2,500. It got the nickname Tommy's Law after a dog named Tommy who was set on fire in Abner Clay Park in February. Tommy's attacker has still not yet been caught.
Right now, short-term rentals like Airbnb are not allowed in the city of Richmond. The city is looking to change that. InSight's Elise Kim joins us from the FAM. Elise, as I understand it, right now there's a $1,000 fine for having an Airbnb in the city.
That's right, Brianna. And right where I'm standing, there's at least a dozen Airbnbs within a 1-mile radius. Companies like Airbnb and VRBO make it easy for people to stay in a house instead of a hotel. The city calls these short-term rentals, which are rentals less than 30 days. They're not technically allowed right now, but plenty of people are renting out their spaces anyway. The city planning department is asking for your input to draft legislation that would allow these types of rentals. They're proposing a $300 a year permit for each rental. If you want to give your own input, you can check out the city survey at richmondgov.com. We've also shared the link on our social media accounts. Reporting from the FAN, I'm Elise Kim.
According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will experience some sort of sexual violence in their lifetime. While statistics are alarming, the stories of the survivors are powerful. InSight's Sarah Daniel has this special report.
Some people carry the weight of that trauma every day, but in April, during Sexual Assault Awareness Month, everyone is invited to take notice and help lighten the load.
I think afterwards I felt violated.
Ruthie Clements says she was sexually assaulted when she was a sophomore in high school. She says that at the time, no one believed she'd been a victim, so she found no support anywhere.
I think after it happened, I just wanted a hug. And that wasn't, I was told it was my fault. And I just needed somebody to sit there and tell me it wasn't.
She says that she struggled with the feelings of shame and anger after her assault, until she came to college. 4 years later, she found peace in her art and in the stories of others.
That meeting these other people, these other survivors, helped me come to terms with what had happened, and brought me a sense of resolution.
Kaylin Tingle of VCU's Wellness Resource Center says that support from those around you is crucial to the healing process.
One thing that's really great to say to somebody in that moment is just thank you and that I believe you.
By some estimates, only 33% of survivors report their assault, Experts agree that talking about the trauma can be empowering, but there are many reasons why survivors don't speak up.
Some people just don't even identify their experience as being, maybe serious enough or a crime or something that's even reportable.
Tingle says that it is the responsibility of everyone, not only survivors, to raise awareness about the importance and purpose of consent. To survivors, Tingle says don't lose hope.
And I'm definitely a much stronger person than I was having gone through it and having experienced what I experienced, and being able to talk about it now is a sign of that, I think. And everything gets better with time.
Having support after an assault is crucial. If you or someone you know is struggling with the aftermath of sexual assault, call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 800-656-4673. For VCU InSight, I'm Sarah Daniel.
We also wanted to share a resource for those on the VCU campus. VCU has confidential sexual assault and domestic violence advocates available. You can reach them via phone or send them an email to myoptions@vcu.edu. If you need immediate help, you can contact the Greater Richmond Regional Hotline. They're available 24/7 at the number you see on your screen.
Richmond PD is warning residents and visitors to keep their eyes peeled and their car door locked near the James River Park system. Here's InSight's Taya Fagart.
I ran the Monument 10K for the second time, and it was a lot of fun. Wet, but a lot of fun.
Chelsea Barker loves running near the James River.
I really enjoy the fact that I live so close to the river, and I get to see all this wildlife. Like 2 days ago I saw a beaver, the other day I saw a bald eagle fly overhead.
Yet she wasn't aware of the recent auto thefts that have been happening at Riverside Drive and 21st Street.
2 years ago, I had my car broken in twice, so it's kind of a shame to hear that it's still going on after 2 years.
But Richmond PD Lieutenant Brian Prendergast is all too familiar with the area.
Obviously, the James River Park system is a very busy area, especially for the city of Richmond. So the more people that come into the area, they're forced to park on the outskirts of the park. And when you're parking on the street, if you leave stuff in plain view, we're finding that people are victimized.
In 2018, there were more than 70 reports of theft in the area alone, with 64 of those incidents occurring between March and October. Half the cars were unlocked, but most had valuables in plain sight.
Police recommend hiding your valuables in places beyond plain sight, like in your trunk or underneath your car seat. And always remember to lock your doors.
We are going to be increasing our patrols and increasing bike patrols in the area. Also, we have put some signs up to remind people as they're walking into the park to lock their vehicles. And the tagline that we're using right now is, if you love it, lock it or you will lose it.
For VCU InSight, I'm Talia Fagart.
Police say that 97% of the victims are from surrounding cities.
It took several years for social justice groups Richmond Transparency Accountability Project to get field report data from the Richmond Police Department. As InSight's Erica Huckabee reports, the number raised questions about how officers factor race into policing decisions.
48 or 49% of Richmond City residents are Black, yet they account for up to 90% of things like truancy violations.
The Richmond Transparency Accountability Project, or RTAP, says that Black residents are being stopped by police at disproportionately higher rates than white residents.
When you look at this data, what you see is that police are focusing their attention more heavily on Black residents of Richmond.
Amanda Hales is a member of RTAP and an intern for Richmond's Legal Aid and Justice Center. She says the issue begins with the data officers put into the system.
It is discretionary whether or not officers fill out their field interview reports. So to the extent that Black people are disproportionately represented in this data is like a conscious decision that officers are making.
RTAP says that officers reported 17,808 encounters with black residents and 7,942 encounters with white residents, all within the first 9 months of 2018. Liz Colston, a sociology professor at VCU and also a member of RTAP, says predictive policing, which is the use of data to determine where to patrol, is not always effective.
If faulty information goes into that system, then faulty predictions about where crime might occur or who might be targeted also come out of those systems.
They say this can lead to over-policing.
The issue of over-policing is that it becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You send more officers to a particular location, and they're going to find more people doing wrong.
RTAP is fighting for more transparency within RPD. The current record system hasn't been revised in over 10 years, but a new system is currently in development.
Having community input on what data we have access to and we'll be able to get rather easily is also important, so that we can see if there are changes in how policing works in Richmond.
I reached out to the Richmond Police Department to find out more information on the new system and about RTAP's study, but they declined to comment. For VCU InSight, I'm Erica Huckabee.
RTAP will represent its research to Mayor LeVar Stoney and Richmond PD before the city implements the new record system.
New Jersey Senator and presidential candidate Cory Booker is introducing a bill that will create a commission to research slavery reparations. This is also an issue that came up at VCU recently. InSight's Kelsey Jones went to an event that focused on Virginia's history with slavery. Kelsey?
Reparations for slavery is the idea of compensating those whose ancestors were slaves. Colleges such as Georgetown and the University of Virginia were built by slaves, but many say an apology just isn't enough. Leslie Harris, a professor at Northwestern University, came to campus to discuss the history of slavery in the Commonwealth. Her talk focused on the continued impact that slavery has on universities today. Many students came out to learn more about this issue. Booker says that this bill will call out racism, white supremacy, and implicit racial bias in our country.
Kelsey Jones reporting from our Richmond newsroom. Thank you, Kelsey.
A recent report shows rent in some parts of Richmond has increased more than 30% since 2012. As InSight's Anaya Spraggs reports, those rising rates are hitting low-income neighborhoods the hardest.
For one VCU student, having a place to stay wasn't always a guarantee.
Everything was like happening at once, and I was just kind of just trying to like think of what to do next.
Her family was evicted 3 times her senior year in high school. It's a story so deeply personal that she asked us to keep her identity confidential.
During one of them, we stayed in like a hotel, and our belongings were in a storage unit. But then after an amount of time, hotels get expensive.
She's one of the thousands of Virginians who face eviction each year. Nearly 40% of apartments in Richmond rent for $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Almost 50% rent for $700 to $1,000, and only 7% rent for less than $700. Michael Rogers at the advocacy group Homeward says when people get to that point, they can feel helpless.
They also just don't know how the eviction process works. They don't know their rights as tenants. They don't know what they can do to prevent it.
Sim Wimbush at the Virginia Housing Alliance says affordable housing doesn't just benefit tenants.
If you have more people who are stably housed, as opposed to maybe being on the streets, then overall it works out better for your community.
Wimbush says, unfortunately, eviction is an easy problem to ignore.
No one really thinks about it. No one really, I guess, cares too much about it unless they're about to lose their housing or they can't find housing.
For VCU InSight, I'm Anaya Spraggs.
We've shared information on recent housing legislation and resources for tenants on our social media. Just search VCU InSight on Facebook and Twitter.
A group of local students are offering support to people who may not have enough money to get routine car repairs. InSight's Nia Tariq has more.
I mean, I think it would certainly help out a lot of people save money.
Taylor Knoll says that he has an old, reliable Honda Accord. Even the most reliable cars can come with a heavy price tag.
It was something that I was at least kind of stressed about, like yeah, paying for an oil change, any sort of auto repair stuff.
Some VCU students have a mission to help their neighbors save a pretty penny on these repairs.
We started first last month, and we probably did about 20-25 people.
As part of a mutual aid initiative, members of the Young Democratic Socialists of America at VCU are offering brake repairs, oil changes, and advice on how to keep your car up and running free of charge.
Even if you don't have to do that, you don't have the means, you don't have the tools, it's still important to know how to check your own oil, how to check your transmission fluid, how to know to check your coolant levels, and to know what the gauges on your car mean.
Ulysses Carter is the VCU YDSA co-chair. He says he wants to share his knowledge of cost-conscious car repairs with the community, especially with people who are strapped for cash.
It's important to be able to get to work and to get your kids to school, get your kids from daycare, everything you need to do in day-to-day life that most people got to do.
Now that it's getting warmer outside, it's important to keep in mind monitoring your tire pressure because it may increase in the heat, checking your engine coolant level, parking in the shade whenever possible, and, of course, getting your oil changed regularly. Reporting in Richmond for VCU InSight, I'm Nia Tariq.
To find out when the next car clinic is taking place, keep a lookout on the campus YDSA Twitter page and search VCU_YDSA.
Coming up after the break, a man who followed his childhood dreams all the way to the ring. VCU InSight will be right back.
We've never been very good at sitting still. Maybe that's why we built our campus in the middle of a city. Why we put our classrooms on riverbanks, in Fortune 500 companies, even on stage. At Virginia Commonwealth University, learning happens everywhere. What matters most is how you make it real.
You may have seen curling on the Winter Olympics. Turns out there's clubs across the country, including one in Richmond. InSight's Dakota Russ checked it out.
The Curling Club of Virginia was founded in 2011 and has grown ever since. I was lucky enough to take a sweep on the ice.
4 players. The skip calls the shot, 1 player delivers the stone, 2 others sweep the ice. The goal? To get the stones in the house and close to the bullseye.
Well, it's such a weird sport. Like, you're sliding rocks on ice, and definitely everyone sees it and they're like, I can do that. It's not that hard.
Katie Brown always loved watching curling. So when her husband found a curling class in Richmond, he knew exactly what she was getting as a birthday present.
It was so much fun. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, and you're running up and down the full length of the ice, and that's why I'm so out of breath.
The pros make it look easy, but league member James Dyerly points out anyone can curl.
You cannot look at someone and tell how good they are at curling. And so our club, we have retirees, we've got middle-aged people, we've got 30s and 20s, we've got teenagers, men and women, and they can all beat you because you don't know how long they've been curling.
Curling originated in Scotland in the 1600s. Since then, it's grown into a worldwide sport. Dan Yokelson is also in the league. He says the sportsmanship in curling is unmatched compared to other sports.
One of the first times that I was in league, I got a Charlie horse and I couldn't sweep anymore. And so one of the members of the other team swept for me for the rest of the game because I couldn't do it.
Even the losing team wins something. A round of drinks from the winning team.
The Curling Club of Virginia plays year-round, and they welcome everyone from beginners to seasoned skips. For VCU InSight, I'm Dakota Rust.
A splash of fun has come to the kids of one Richmond neighborhood. The newly renovated Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club in the East End is already welcoming neighbors inside. Located on R Street, the club features an updated pool, fitness areas, STEM studios, and more. Retired Olympic silver medalist Maritza McClendon and current Team USA Olympic gold medalist Simone Manuel paid to visit the club during its inaugural Splash Day event. Local kids got to enjoy a day of play and even swim in a relay with the Olympians during the event.
Logistically, this pool and aquatic center is such, location-wise, such a close proximity to so many people and so many kids that otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity.
The event was coordinated by USA Swimming, Swim RVA, and students in the VCU Center for Sport Leadership.
Inspired by legendary wrestlers as a kid, one man is living his dream. Here's InSight's Jacob Sexton.
Watch wrestling back, you're talking about Ric Flair back in the, I guess, mid and early, late 80s. So from there, it just became such an interest of mine. I was like, man, I would love to be one of those guys.
And today, he is. Ellis Pollard has been wrestling professionally for about 10 years. He is constantly competing as a member of classic pro wrestling. But he thinks back to his first night at wrestling school.
It was hard. I mean, trying to learn how to take bumps. That first night, obviously, I didn't get it, but I kind of got the concept of it. So I just kept going. I wanted to get it, I was really nervous. I had butterflies.
Now, wrestling's more than just about glamorous entrances. It's about character development and making sure that you're physically able to compete.
I got into working out at some point because of pro wrestling.
Pollard's wrestling character is known as Salvation. He will soon face Sledge Gibson.
Athletic as a kid. I played a lot of football when I was younger. I didn't do anything with it. Watching WrestleMania one day, and I was like, you know what? I'm a wrestling fan. I could do that.
And he has done that. Gibson has risen to the top of his industry in about a year. One wrestling icon says that the profession is shifting towards younger competitors.
It's changed because you got nothing but new guys now. And their training takes a long time to get them right.
Pollard is one of the older guys now. And still believes he can hold his own in the ring.
So I'm getting older, over 40, so it's like, as an athlete, you know, a lot of athletes retire around that time. Really never stop learning, or you never stop teaching people, no matter what it is. You can always become better in life or in the ring.
For VCU InSight, I'm Jacob Sexton.
Pollard will compete in the Classic Pro Wrestling Championship on April 20th in Alette, Virginia.
The Richmond Flying Squirrels are celebrating their 10th season in Richmond, beginning their schedule in early April. Adam Cheek is at the Diamond with more.
The Flying Squirrels have put up several winning seasons over their 9-year stay at the Diamond. They've become beloved on the Boulevard. Vice President Todd Parnell recognizes that.
I've never been as excited before as I am right now, so I think that probably says a lot to how we feel about going into the season.
He's affectionately known as Parney to the fans. Parnell has been an executive since the team's inception. He says there's been a lot of excitement about the anniversary season.
This is the most anticipated season, not only here in Richmond, but of any that I've ever been involved with, and you can feel that when people walk into the ballpark.
Sophomore manager and World Series champion Willie Harris hopes to return the Squirrels to the playoffs in a landmark season. The team will have more than 60 home games throughout the season, including hosting the league's All-Star Game. The team will also have promotions, giveaways, and other events for fans. For VCU InSight, I'm Adam Cheek.
Richmond's season kicked off in early April and will run through September.
Still to come, April is Autism Awareness Month. We'll introduce you to a family who says support is all about ability rather than their disability.
An enchanting exhibit opened this month at Ginter Botanical Garden. Butterflies Live has a greenhouse full of over 500 butterflies. Visitors can expect to see more than 30 different species during their visit. The exhibit is open through October 14th. Admission is $13 for adults and $8 for kids. It's free for members. The garden is also having an Instagram contest for the best butterfly photos. Use the hashtag #BeFlies to enter.
Autism Awareness is this month. I had the chance to meet with 7-year-old Jamia and one woman who is using her own personal experience to push for opportunities for those with the disorder. Jamia is 7 years old and she loves to swing. You like to swing? Yeah. Her mom is Ebony Johnson.
Can't speak for the other kids or parents that are like Jamia or even more severe than Jamia. I was surprised at her peers. Even though they are so young, they were willing to help her.
Jamia was diagnosed when she was 4. Johnson says there were challenges, but with the help of friends and family, they found their way.
I couldn't have asked for a better team of people who has come into our lives and just shown support and guidance and resources that I could even ever imagine.
In 2018, the CDC determined that 1 in every 59 children is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Ann Flippen is the director of the Autism Society of Central Virginia. She says her journey to spread awareness began with her brother.
He's 28 years old and severely impacted. He has a lot of behavioral challenges, and it was quite a journey growing up, and it really impacts the whole family and the friends around you. It changes your whole life.
Advocates say it's important to recognize the signs and, most importantly, promote ability and not disability.
I think the general public can be more aware and more, I think, interactive with individuals with autism in the community, making accommodations for them so that they can enjoy things that others do, that everyone does.
In May, the Autism Society will host its annual 5K Family Fun Day. We've got information about that event on our Facebook page.
Well, that does it for this edition of VCU InSight.
You can see any of these stories from tonight's newscast by following us on Twitter and Facebook. Let us know about any stories you'd like to see on our show.
You can also find the full show on our YouTube page. Just search VCU InSight. Thanks for watching. I'm Brianna Ray Turner.
And I'm Kaylin Stevens. We'll see you next time.